My husband's family faked illness to end our marriage. When their lies escalated, we cut them off. Have you ever watched a man unravel piece by piece like someone pulling a thread until there's nothing left but a hollow version of who he used to be? Because I have. I married him. My name's Ava. I'm 31. I'm a freelance editor with a caffeine addiction, a deeply unhealthy relationship with iced coffee, and a dream of owning a cabin in the woods far, far away from people who say, let's circle back. And Jacob? Jacob is 33, a high school English teacher with the kindest heart I've ever met, and the kind of trauma you don't talk about at dinner parties. The kind that comes wrapped in family values and tied with a bow of guilt. We've been married 5 years, and for 4 of those, I fought tooth and nail to protect our marriage from the gravitational black hole that is his mother and sister. Let me introduce them. Not that you'll like them. No one does. Vivian, Jacob's mother. 65, going on Victorian ghost bride. Always dressed in shades of beige like she's allergic to joy. The kind of woman who brags about how many casseroles she's made for grieving neighbors but never once remembers your birthday. Her weapon of choice? Emotional sabotage disguised as deep concern. And Sarah, Jacob's sister. 38, twice divorced. Passive-aggressive in a way that should qualify for Olympic judging. If you crossed a Pinterest mom with a courtroom witness who always forgets her story halfway through, you'd get Sarah. Her house is always between redecorating. Her kids are always just misunderstood. And her boyfriends are always temporary. They live together in the house Jacob grew up in. A massive 2-story Gothic time capsule with floral wallpaper and mirrors in every hallway. It's less a home and more a mausoleum to Vivian's control. You don't walk through it, you get judged by it. You feel watched. You are watched. In every photo on the walls, Jacob smiles like someone taught to smile, not someone who actually feels it. I tried. Lord knows I tried. I smiled through dinners where I was the only one not offered dessert. I hosted holidays they later criticized on Facebook. I brought gifts they accidentally regifted in front of me. I bit my tongue so many times I should have been on a liquid diet. And then came last Thursday. Jacob got a text from Sarah. 11:03 p.m. We were already in bed. Mom's fading. Might not make it through the night. Come now. No warning. No explanation. Just that. Jacob jumped up like someone had pulled a string in his spine. We were on the road in 10 minutes. No shoes changed. No questions asked. Just a rush of old panic I saw in his eyes but didn't yet understand. When we arrived, Sarah greeted us at the door. Makeup perfect. Candlelight behind her. Wine glass in hand. She's resting, she said softly. We don't know how much time she has. Jacob ran to Vivian's bedroom. I followed. Slowly. There she was, sitting up, propped by silk pillows, watching Murder. She wrote and munching on saltines like she was at a damn picnic. Oh, Jacob, she breathed, like a woman in the final act of a soap opera. You made it. Sarah shot me a look like, what? You thought we were lying? Later that night, Vivian fainted mid-dinner, slid out of her chair like a dead goldfish. Sarah screamed, clutching her pearls. Jacob leaped up. I checked her pulse. Steady. I'll call 911, I said. Vivian's eyelids fluttered open. No hospitals. Just stay with me. So Jacob did. Slept on the floor by her bed. The man who once cried watching Pixar movies was now curled up on the carpet like a forgotten child. I slept alone. The next morning I came downstairs. He was at the table, pale, wrinkled, and in his hands an urn. Shiny, polished, empty. Sarah stood beside him, smiling. We thought it would help to prepare, she said sweetly. You know, for the inevitable. I looked at her, then at him. You bought an urn for someone who just faked dying 12 hours ago? Silence. Jacob looked at me, like he didn't know which way was up anymore. And in that silence, it hit me. Vivian wasn't rehearsing her death. She was rehearsing his obedience. And I wasn't a guest in this circus anymore. I was about to set the whole tent on fire. You'd think after the fake funeral prep, the empty urn, and the midnight deathbed theatrics, Jacob would have seen it, would have snapped out of it, would have said, hey, this is a bit much. He didn't. He unpacked his overnight bag, asked Sarah if she wanted him to cook breakfast, asked Vivian if she needed another pillow. He was still trying to earn their love like it was a merit badge. Meanwhile, I was teetering between rage and dissociation. I texted my best friend, Nia, me. I'm in the Truman Show, but it's written by Freud and wine moms. Nia, burn the set. Bless her. I decided I'd stay 2 more nights, max, for Jacob, to observe. to confirm, in crystal clear resolution, what I already knew in my bones. These people were certifiable and they were playing my husband like a damn violin. That second night, it escalated. We were all seated for dinner. Vivian suddenly gasped, loud, shaky, dramatic. I had a vision. Sarah froze mid-bite. What kind of vision? Vivian pressed a tissue to her temple like a psychic with a migraine. I saw Jacob's wedding. But it wasn't Ava in the dress. You could have heard a gnat fart. Jacob dropped his fork. Sarah smiled like she'd been waiting to deliver her line. Maybe the universe is trying to show you something, she said. A reset. A course correction. I nearly flipped the table. But Jacob? He just sat there, staring at the table like it had betrayed him. Like he couldn't believe his family would say that out loud, but also couldn't figure out how to fight back. Later that night, I cornered him in the hallway. You heard that, right? He rubbed his temples. They didn't mean it like that. Oh, really? What did they mean then? That the vision was about a costume party. Ava, this is just what they do when they're overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by what? My existence. Silence. I think we should go home, I said. His jaw tightened. You can go. I think I need to stay a bit longer. And that felt like a punch I didn't see coming. I left, packed my bag and drove the 4 hours home. Alone. Crying angry tears into a Starbucks napkin. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. Then came the text. Mom wants to host a family dinner. Said she was ready to apologize. Can you come back for it? I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I got in the car. What if this dinner was really the olive branch? I was gonna be there to catch it and maybe snap it in half. I wore red. Vivian hates red. When I walked in, she was already seated. So was Sarah. A long table. Candles. Cheap wine. And one empty seat right next to Jacob. He smiled when he saw me. Relieved. Vivian cleared her throat. I want to start with a toast, she said. Everyone lifted their glasses. To new beginnings, she said. And letting go of things that don't belong. Her eyes locked on mine. I smiled back. And took the glass. But I didn't drink it. Because something was off. It wasn't the apology dinner. It was the ambush. And I was already 3 steps ahead. Vivian had arranged everything like a high-budget reenactment of Atonement. Candles. Table runner. That same cheap Moscato she always pretended was vintage. She didn't even glance at me when I entered. Just tapped her glass with a spoon. Let's begin, she said, like we were holding court. Sarah smiled. The kind of smile you see on people who've already rigged the game. Jacob looked tense, but not surprised. Vivian began her monologue. I want to address the growing divide in our family. And I take full responsibility for failing to prepare Jacob for the kind of woman who doesn't value tradition. My jaw flexed. That was the apology? I've spoken with our pastor, she continued, and he agrees this union, while legally binding, may be spiritually flawed. But it's not too late to course correct. I blinked. Did you just bring God into a custody battle for your son's spine? Sarah sighed loudly. Why do you always have to twist things? Why do you always have to script them? I shot back. Jacob muttered, please don't do this. Vivian ignored him. I spoke with an attorney. Annulment's off the table. But there are other paths. Quiet ones. No drama. Just distance. My stomach flipped. This wasn't dinner. It was an intervention. Jacob dropped his napkin. Vivian placed a manila envelope in front of him. I drew up a separation agreement. Not legal, of course. Just symbolic. So you can start to reset your focus. Rejoin the family without all the noise. The room buzzed. I could hear my heart. Jacob, I said calmly, do you know about this? He stared at the envelope. Vivian leaned in. You'll thank me, baby. One day. I stood. Walked around the table. Picked up the envelope. Read the top line. Declaration of marital pause, Morgan versus Morgan. My hands shook. Then steadied. I looked at Jacob. You gonna sign it? He didn't move. You knew this was happening? Still silence. Vivian chimed in sweetly, he just needs time. Space from toxicity. I turned to her. You want space? I said, voice quiet. I pulled my phone from my bag. Hit record. Vivian blinked. What are you doing? I turned to Sarah. Just want to capture your pastor-certified recommendation that my husband fake a separation to rejoin the family. It'll play beautifully if we ever do end up in court. Sarah paled. Vivian slammed her wine glass down. You wouldn't dare, eh? Oh, Vivian, I smiled. You taught me how to dare. I tossed the envelope on the table. Consider this my final RSVP. I'm done. And I walked. This time, Jacob didn't follow, which was perfect, because the next move would be mine. And I don't bluff. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken, because I was calculating. If Vivian wanted to turn my marriage into a social contract, then fine. I play by the rules. But I'd rewrite the game. The next morning, I emailed an attorney. Not a divorce lawyer. A reputational defense consultant. Vivian and Sarah weren't just toxic. They were loud. They had mutual friends, church gossipers, and a permanent front row seat in our social circle. And they were already spinning the narrative. Within 24 hours of my exit, One of Jacob's cousins texted me. Heard you stormed out. Vivian said you've been unstable for months. Is everything okay? I didn't respond. I forwarded it to the consultant. Let them talk, she advised. Just don't give them ammo. Let the facts do the bleeding. So I bled the facts. I collected every voicemail and every passive-aggressive email. I took screenshots of the marital pause document. I even printed the guest list for that dinner and marked the seating chart Vivian had drawn up in Sharpie on the back of a grocery receipt. She labeled me as other. Power is information. And I was loaded. Meanwhile, Jacob stayed silent, which meant he'd chosen them. Or maybe he was choosing not to choose, which in this family is the same thing. But then, 3 days later, the doorbell rang. Not Jacob. Sarah. Holding a pink bakery box like this was a rom-com and not psychological warfare. Thought we could talk, she said. I didn't open the door. She tried again. Mom's not well. She's not eating. She says you cursed her house. I raised an eyebrow. Does she think I used essential oils or black magic? Sarah pouted. This doesn't have to be a battle. If you just stop making everything difficult. I opened the door. Just enough. You showed up with fake death announcements and spiritual annulment paperwork. Forgive me if I don't want cupcakes and closure. She flinched. We're just trying to get our family back. By removing the one person Jacob chose, I was never your family, Sarah. I was your target. She narrowed her eyes. You know he'll come around. He always does. I smiled. Cold. Surgical. He might. But when he does, I won't be waiting. I'll be building. I closed the door. That night, I posted one photo. Me. Sitting at the dining table. Vivian's ridiculous envelope in one hand. A Sharpie in the other. I scribbled declined across the top. Caption. Not all paperwork deserves a signature. It went viral. Friends, colleagues, strangers, hundreds of likes, dozens of DMs, people sharing their own stories of controlling in-laws, of dinners that weren't dinners, of love turned into leverage. Vivian didn't comment, but I know she saw it, because the next day, Jacob came home, not with flowers, not with excuses, with a letter, and what was inside it changed everything. I didn't open the letter right away. I stared at it like it might hiss. It might bleed. Jacob stood in the hallway like a broken statue. One hand on the doorknob, the other hanging by his side like he didn't know what to do with it. There was no apology on his face. No performative regret. Just stillness, like someone waiting for the verdict. He placed the letter on the entry table and said, "It's not what you think," then left. No dramatic pause. No look over the shoulder. Just gone. I let the envelope sit there for an hour. 2. I walked past it half a dozen times like it was radioactive. When I finally opened it, I expected a script. An attempt to spin things. Something prepackaged by Vivian's legalese-scented fingers. What I got was Jacob's war cry. Inside was a notarized power of attorney form. Every emergency contact. Every account beneficiary. Every legal document a person could control in life or death rewritten. All in my name. There was also a handwritten note. Ava, this is me, finally stepping out of their shadow. You don't have to take me back. But no matter what happens, no one but you gets to decide how I leave this world. That's how much I trust you. That's how much I owe you. I choose you, not just to love me, but to protect what they tried to erase. Jay. I sat down on the stairs, still holding the papers, chest tight. This wasn't a love letter. This was a severance package. But then came the second envelope. A flash drive, labeled only, for when they try again. Inside were recordings, screenshots, Vivian's voicemails, Sarah's texts, a full archive of manipulation. Date stamped, organized, categorized. Jacob hadn't been silent. He'd been documenting and preparing. I watched one video. Vivian, sitting in that haunted living room of hers, wine in hand, says, "If she walks, let her. We'll fix it. Rebuild his life. He doesn't even see how trapped he is." Sarah in the background. "He just needs a dramatic reason to leave. Let her blow up." They were planning my downfall like a fundraising gala. I stared at the screen until my eyes hurt. That night, Jacob came back. He didn't knock, didn't ask permission, just stepped inside quiet. "I told them I was done," he said. "I told them to stay away from you. That I had proof. That I'd use it." I turned to him. "You had all that, and you still let them corner me at that dinner. I thought I could end it without detonating everything." I walked over to the counter, picked up the flash drive. "You already lit the fuse, Jacob. You just didn't hear the countdown." He winced. "I'm sorry. Don't apologize, I said. It's time to do something useful. The next morning, I sent the full archive to my lawyer. And then I sent it to someone else. My cousin Margot, a journalist, one who owed me a favor. Within hours, she texted back. You sure you want to go nuclear? I replied. I'm past nuclear. I'm post-apocalyptic. Because the truth isn't always clean. But it is loud. And I was ready to make sure everyone finally heard it. The email went out at 9:06 a.m. Subject line, on the record, a family no one should envy. By 10 o'clock, the phone started ringing. By noon, the storm had a name. Margot didn't just publish the article. She detonated it. Front page of her outlet's digital section pushed to over 1 million subscribers. With receipts. With audio. With redacted names, but just enough breadcrumbs to bake a whole damn pie. She opened with a quote. They told him to marry safe. When he didn't, they tried to undo his life one lie at a time. The story wasn't just about Jacob and me. It was about generational control. About women like Vivian who weaponize legacy. About daughters like Sarah who inherit manipulation like heirloom china. Within hours, the story went viral. Former friends of Sarah's started commenting anonymously. She's been like this since college. Emotionally radioactive. She ruined my engagement with a lie and a fake pregnancy scare. Someone leaked screenshots of her Reddit activity. Anonymous posts under an account traced back to her business email. My brother's wife is emotionally unstable and ruining our family. Advice? Commenters dragged her. And then they dragged Vivian. A local pastor even issued a public statement distancing the church from anyone weaponizing spiritual counsel to coerce others into submission. Jacob's phone exploded. Family members texting him, begging him to take it down. Saying he was humiliating the family. That Ava had gone too far. But it wasn't Ava. It was evidence. And Jacob? He didn't back down. He tweeted something simple. Family isn't who raised you. It's who refuses to let you drown. It got 400,000 likes in one night. I watched the fire burn from the living room. Phone buzzing. Notifications dinging. And then, silence. Because we knew what was coming. The last card. The desperate one. Vivian showed up. In person. She stood outside our house in a beige coat clutching a grocery bag like she was on a peace mission. I didn't open the door. She rang again. Then knocked like she was calling Judgment Day. Jacob stood behind me silent. She pulled something from the bag and held it to the glass. It was a baby photo. Of Jacob. And a note taped to the frame. I didn't raise you to shame your blood. Jacob didn't move. He just stared. Then he walked to the door. Opened it halfway. Looked her in the eyes. And said, then maybe you shouldn't have bled me dry. He closed the door. And this time I locked it. From the inside. Vivian stood there for a long time. Then she left. No threats. No screams. Just the soft sound of a woman realizing her story had been rewritten. Not by her, but by the people she thought she controlled. There's a kind of silence that feels like velvet, soft, heavy, expensive. That's what the house felt like after the fallout. No more texts. No voicemails. No secret letters. Just stillness. It wasn't peace. Not yet. It was the lull after a war when the soldiers haven't quite put their guns down but the battlefield's already stopped screaming. Vivian disappeared. Deleted her socials. Vanished from the women's church group chat. Even her Sunday casserole delivery circle dried up. Sarah retreated too, no more live streams, no sad girl aesthetic Instagram posts. Just a slow retreat into digital shadows, leaving behind nothing but a trail of deactivated profiles and unanswered comments. But the damage doesn't vanish when you log out. A week after the article dropped, a certified letter landed in our mailbox. Heavy envelope. Vivian's handwriting on the label. Inside? A threat disguised as legalese. She wasn't suing. Not really. But she was initiating an inquiry into emotional sabotage. Her words. She accused me of manipulating Jacob through psychological isolation, of orchestrating public slander for personal gain. She cited Jacob's will update as proof of undue influence. Jacob's lawyer didn't even blink. You get a more coherent argument from a soap opera villain. Still, it shook me. Because even in defeat, she refused to admit she'd lost. She just rewrote the narrative. Sarah wasn't far behind. She posted a YouTube video titled, When Family Turns Their Back. Soft lighting. Fake crying. Sappy piano music. She rambled for 15 minutes about how Ava dismantled their family's foundation and how Jacob had become a shell of who he used to be. She even pulled out baby pictures of him mid-video. It got 600 views. Half of them are probably from trolls. The rest? People laughing at her pinned comment, please be kind, we're healing. Someone screen recorded it, stitched it with Vivian's voicemail, and turned it into a meme. Caption, when narcissists lose the Wi-Fi password to your life. I watched it 30 times. Then it got worse. Jacob received a voicemail from Vivian. No caller ID. Just static, then her voice, low and biting. I hope you're happy. You let her poison everything. This wasn't your story to rewrite. Jacob didn't reply. He forwarded it to our attorney. Then he grabbed a box from the closet. What's that? I asked. He opened it. His baby book. Photos. Letters. School drawings. Notes from his dad. All the things he clung to because they were proof he came from something that once felt warm. He took a breath, then dumped it in the fireplace. Are you sure? I asked. Yeah, he said. I'm done keeping souvenirs from a prison. It burned for an hour. He didn't cry. And neither did I. The next week, we moved. No goodbye post. No explanation. Just a new town. New address. New lock code. We bought a small house with a creaky porch and wild jasmine out front. 2 bedrooms. 1 office. A wood stove. Big windows. And silence. Real silence. We got another dog. A rescue with crooked teeth and a lopsided tail. We named her Signal. Because she came from chaos and still knew how to howl. Sometimes I wonder what they say about us now. Maybe we're the villains. Maybe we're ghosts. But every night, Jacob takes off his shoes, cooks dinner, and asks me how I slept. Not because he's rehearsing something, but because he wants to know. And I realize. We didn't merely walk away, we boldly stripped off the mask they had imposed on us and seized back our voices. And this time, we wrote the last chapter ourselves. Not out of hatred. Not even out of anger anymore. But out of self-preservation. Out of exhausted, sacred clarity. Because sometimes survival isn't loud. It's closing the door. Lighting a fire. Naming a crooked dog is something that means freedom. So when people ask what happened with Jacob's family, we say we stopped auditioning for a love we were never going to get. And then we keep living. Without needing a green light and waiting for a nod from their throne. Finally, without their shadow. Ask yourself this. If silence could save you, would you risk burning everything just to earn it? Would you still call it family if they called your healing betrayal? Hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. Help this small channel grow by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Every bit of support means the world. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.